Hello everyone, thanks for tuning into Ensembles Watch on your Sunday evening. So you're probably expecting to find a live chat going on Gaza this evening between myself and Quantum. Unfortunately, we've had to cancel the live chat. Events have just conspired to mean that we can't get together this evening. So we're looking into rescheduling at some point in the future, and as soon as we are able to, then we will tell you when that is going to be. But in the place of the live chat with myself and Quantum, we're doing an Ensembles Watch. So we're going to go through all members of the GFS Ensembles, all 20 plus members, including the Operational and Control GFS members, and we're going to see what they're all showing for the next week or two. We're going to start off on Thursday and run through into the start of February. Of course, we've had the cancelled easterly wind. It looks as though the end of this coming week, winds were going to swing into the east and pull bitterly cold air out of Russia. Never quite looked like a beast from the east, but it did look pretty potent, that easterly. But it's off the table anyway now, seemingly, and it appears we're going to have to wait for another opportunity to build up high pressure over Scandinavia and get those winds into the east. So we'll be looking to see how many of these ensemble members have high latitude blocking in the next couple of weeks. Of course, how seriously we take them after this week's failed easterly. I think we do have to be very cautious now about any attempts to get the wind into the east. I'm sure the wind will get into the east at some point. The question is, when it does, will we actually have any cold air to tap into? But we're still very early, really, so you can get cold easterlies right way through to kind of like late March, actually, as we proved in 2013. So still plenty of time to get those cold easterly winds in. So that's what we're going to do for today's final video anyway. Just to say that the two videos released so far today was the Gazwa this Sunday roundup. So that's your usual eclectic Sunday mix of this and that. And also we had a look at the ECMWF and Meteo France long-range seasonal models for January. And that takes us through the first part of the year, really. It goes from February through to June. So have a look at that. And see what's going on with the Meteo France, ECMWF and DWD long-range seasonal models. Right, so we're at westcentral.d, and we're going to go through all ensemble members right now. We're going to start off with the latest GFS operational run. This is it. And we're starting on Thursday, so we've got on Thursday, this is when we were supposed to be getting this high pressure hooked up to the northwest of the UK, combining it with a Scandinavian high, pulling in an easterly wind. But now you see what's going on. We've actually got low pressure rolling around the top of this high pressure, bringing relatively mild air in from off the Atlantic. So we have the westerly winds through the country through to the end of the week with the latest operational GFS run. Doesn't take long at all, though, to start pulling winds into the north. So by next weekend, this is midnight Sunday, we're pulling down quite a cold northerly wind. That could bring snow showers to northern parts of the country. And then as we go into the more extended range, running up towards day 10, the latest operational GFS run is cold with wind in from the north. Then another area of low pressure running into the north of Scotland on 29th, Tuesday 29th of January. That could bring some sort of rain or snow type situation. And then as that sinks down over top of the country, we pull more northerly winds in. So it looks like we're going to look north in the next couple of weeks rather than east. It looks like we're going to look north for our cold shots of air. So we're into the early part of February now, long way out, 300 hours, and we've got this ridge building through the North Atlantic, and wind is kind of like turning northeasterly. That looks pretty cold and wintry as well. Oops, there we go. And then we get through to the very end of the operational GFS run. We're beginning to push low pressure back in from off the Atlantic. So cold and unsettled for the next couple of weeks on the GFS operational run. Few northerly shots, but very little in the way of high latitude blocking, so very little sort of locked in, severely cold weather. Nevertheless, probably cold enough for snow at times, particularly so with those northerly shots across the northern parts of the country. Right, so let's start going through the ensemble members then. We're going to go to the control run next. So this is at a slightly lower resolution compared to the operational GFS run, but it's at a higher resolution compared to all other ensemble members. So again, we've got these westerlies beginning to move in on Thursday, dooming the easterly that we was thinking we was going to have by Thursday, dooming that to oblivion. We go through to the end of the week and next weekend, and we start to pull down these cold northerly winds. So it doesn't take very long at all to get wind into the north next weekend. A proper northerly shot would bring snow showers into northern parts of the country. Remember, when the wind is in from the north, it's primarily going to be northern parts of the country that will get snow, and coast areas, southern areas tend to be sheltered from those northerly winds. Unless it's a long-lasting northerly, kind of northerlies that we had, say, in December 2010, in the December to remember. And when you've got high latitude blocking around Greenland supporting the northerly, then you can even start to push snow down in across southern parts of the country via polar lows and various other disturbances. But these kind of northerlies that aren't particularly well supported by genuine high latitude blocking, you tend to find with these northerlies that the snow is mostly up in the north. But it is cold next weekend with those northerly winds. And then we go up towards day 10. We're bringing another area of low pressure in from off the Atlantic. That's sinking down across the country. And now we're a little bit beyond day 10. We're up to 31st of January. You'll notice pressure is rising over Scandinavia. So this one's having a real good go at getting the wind into the east. So here we go again with another GFS operation, another GFS ensemble member, the control that is trying to get the wind into the east and does manage to do it for a while. That looks pretty cold. That's a pretty cold ensemble member actually going up towards the very end of that ensemble run, which is on Tuesday the 5th of February. We've got a blocking feature to our north and northeast. The wind is in from the east as well, and the Atlantic is being well and truly blocked off. Right, let's have a look at ensemble member number 1, and we've got high pressure to our southwest on Thursday. We're bringing in this milder southwesterly wind. We go into the weekend. Let's see what this one's going to do. So again, very quickly, we're pulling down that northerly wind next weekend, a shot of cold air from the north. As we go through into the following week, we get this area of low pressure sinking down across the country. Now, there could be some sort of snow, I think, with that. It runs into cold air from the north, and it's got pretty cold air behind it too. So don't rule out around the 28th, 29th of January chances of snow with that diving area of low pressure. Ensemble member number 1 is taking that high pressure up towards Greenland and Iceland. So this is turning into quite a blocked cold pattern around day 10. I've got a proper ridge there up towards Iceland, and we're putting in this cold north to northeasterly wind. That will bring snow to many parts of the country. In more extended range, when it looks like it's staying cold, winds are remaining in from the east. In fact, the easterly wind is strengthening there. That will be driving snow showers in across the country as we run through the first days of February, finishing up with low pressure trying to have a go at dislodging that cold air from the Atlantic, which could bring snow in from the west. That's a very cold and wintry ensemble member number 1. Please keep in mind with this that we've just had a failure of easterly winds, so do please take this with a lot of caution. Any charts that you see in around 10 or 12 days time showing easterlies, do please remember that we have just had a failed easterly, so we have to be really, really careful now, really cautious with any model output that is showing bitterly cold easterly winds. Clearly there is something within the atmosphere at the moment, probably from the sun and stratospheric warming. There is something in the atmosphere that is the models are picking up on to try and get the wind into the east. The models want to go in that direction, but at times the weather is just saying no at the minute, so it's a very confused picture. Ensemble member number 2 shows mild air moving in from off the Atlantic at the end of the week, but it's not long before we're turning those winds into the north. So northerly winds push down across the country next weekend. They could bring snow showers, particularly to northern parts of the country. Then this low pressure sinks down across the country through the middle part of next week, turning wind into the east again. So this is another ensemble member that wants to get the wind into the east. Not as cold as what we saw with Ensemble member number 1, but it is pretty cold and wintry, this one. And then with low pressure hanging around the country, there's a little bit of wintry potential with that one. Ensemble member number 3 is very close to pulling in easterly winds on Thursday. So this is the kind of thing we was looking at a couple of days ago. It's very close to it at this point on Thursday. We've got the ridge in the Atlantic, we've got the build of pressure over Scandinavia, and actually we have got a slight northeasterly wind across southeastern parts of the country. We build this ridge up across the UK through the end of the week, so this is fending off those milder winds from off the Atlantic, but it's the same sort of idea really, a failed easterly. Not much of a northerly either next weekend, so this one's rather different, number 3, to what we've seen so far. Then this low pressure diving down through the country. We're up to Tuesday the 29th of January. Low pressure diving down through the country, and it is turning the wind into the east finally somewhere around day 10. Cold easterly winds and snow showers being pulled in. And then we build up that ridge to the east of us with low pressure trying to get in from off the Atlantic. So we finish up with a proper Scandinavian high and wind in from the east. Excuse me. We go through to Ensemble member number 4. And we've got mild air moving in from off the Atlantic at the end of the week, and that lasts into next weekend. But it isn't long at all before we start to get those winds into the north next weekend. So a bit of a northerly shock coming through. Then a low pressure diving down across the country again, and that turns the winds into a proper northeast. That could bring snow showers with it. Then high pressure's ridging through the country and going up towards Scandinavia somewhere a little bit after day 10. So that's again having a go, getting the wind into the east. However, deep area of low pressure developing around Greenland and Iceland. So the days of that Scandinavian high are numbered. We finish up with a strong to gale force westerly wind, probably quite cold though. This Ensemble member number 5 with high pressure again to our southwest, trying to get wind into the east, but just not able to because of this spoiler low sitting close to Iceland. However, we keep the high pressure ridging through the country at the end of the week, so that keeps us pretty cold anyway. Not easterly winds, but it is pretty cold there. And then next weekend, here comes that northerly shot as a high pressure pulls out to the west of the country. So you see there's various ways we get to this northerly next weekend. They're not in agreement about how that northerly happens, but most of the ensemble members are going for a northerly shot during the course of next weekend. And then we go up to day 10 and beyond day 10, looking rather unsettled, never really pulling in anything particularly cold from the north or the east though. In fact, this one is building some high pressure to our south, although it is trying to ridge it up towards Scandinavia. So that's actually turning quite mild in the opening days of February. Winds are drifting up from kind of like Mediterranean. It is building high pressure up towards Scandinavia though, so it could possibly be one of those situations where it's very mild for a few days, but then watch out because the wind backs into the southeast or the east. Ensemble member number 6 shows again we've got this mild air coming in around the top of the high pressure at the end of the week into next weekend. The wind turns into the north, and then we get more low pressure piling in from off the Atlantic. So not much of a northerly with this one. It starts to sink this area of low pressure down across the country just a little bit after day 10, and there's the winds pulling into the east again, so suggestion there that high pressure's building around Iceland and bridging towards Scandinavia with easterly winds moving in across the country, finishing up quite cold with high pressure a little bit out to the west. Ensemble member number 7, again we find that at the end of the week we're getting this ridge building from the Atlantic into trying to build towards Scandinavia, trying to get wind into the east, but not quite able to. Over the weekend, next weekend, low pressure dies through the country, turns the winds into the north. This is another one that's going to have a northerly wind, and that lasts into the beginning of the following week. So we're up to Tuesday 29th of January, winds still coming in from a northerly direction. In the more extended range with ensemble member number 7, we push low pressure in across the country, so it turns wet and windy. Nothing that cold from the north and certainly not from the east with that ensemble member. Ensemble member number 8 with high pressure again just out to our southwest. At the end of this coming week, low pressure turns the winds into the north next weekend. So here we go again, another one that has this northerly shot during next weekend. And this one's also building some ridging over towards Scandinavia as well. So this one's trying to get us into quite a blocked cold pattern as we're running up towards day 10. That's how we look a little bit beyond day 10. So again, ridging to our north, heading in towards Scandinavia, winds in from the east. Not sure how cold the upper air temperatures would be with that, but it does look pretty blocked, I have to say. High pressure is in there over Scandinavia, and that's a colder one, I think, Ensemble member number 8. It's not classic northern blocking, but that's a pretty cold one from next weekend right way through to the very end. This is Ensemble member number 9, and again we find that next weekend the wind turns into the north after that failure of the easterly wind at the end of this week. Then low pressure starts to move in from off the Atlantic, but it is being blocked by high pressure to our north and northeast. So this low pressure starts to dive southwards. This looks quite cold and wintry, maybe snowy even. Got this low pressure diving southwards to the south of the UK, with high pressure up to the north. We finish up looking like that with Ensemble member number 9 starting to reintroduce a milder southwesterly wind. Ensemble member number 10, if we can. Ensemble member number 10 up. I think West Central might be starting to run a little bit slowly. So we just have to see how we go along now. We're halfway through. Let's see how we go along. This is Ensemble member number 10, and again we find that over the weekend we have this low pressure swinging in across the country, trying to get wind into the north, but it's not doing it as quickly as some of the ensemble members. It doesn't bring much of a northerly to us. Heading up towards day 10, we've got high pressure again building to our north and northeast. That's turning the wind into an easterly direction and blocking off the Atlantic. That's how we finish up with Ensemble member number 10. Quite a lot of high pressure to our north and northeast. Low pressure stuck out in the Atlantic, and that one looks quite cold from around day 10 onwards, but not as much of a northerly snap next weekend. Ensemble member number 11, again we've got high pressure to our southwest next weekend, and that pulls out into the Atlantic and turns the winds into the north. Again, not quite as much of a northerly snap with Ensemble member number 11 next weekend, but gradually it's inching its way up towards Greenland. So that's how we look by day 10, a proper mid-Atlantic ridge going up towards Greenland. Remember, low pressure is sinking down across the country, turning the wind into the north. That's how we look very end of this Ensemble member number 11, trying to re-establish a milder southwesterly wind. Ensemble member number 12, again, we've got the high pressure out to the southwest. The low pressure is moving through the country next weekend, turning the wind into the north. There are various ways we get to this northerly next weekend, but most ensemble members are in agreement we do get a northerly snap next weekend. Beyond that, heights are rising to our north. You'll notice becoming increasingly blocked. This low pressure is moving down towards Biscay, so we're pulling in easterly winds now as we're moving into the early part of February, looking blocked and cold with the wind in from the east with Ensemble member number 12. Ensemble member number 13, again, we've got the high pressure down to our southwest. Low pressure is running in over top of it. A bit of a northerly there on Sunday next weekend. And we keep things pretty cold with this ensemble member going right the way through. In fact, we're moving that high pressure increasingly towards Greenland and Iceland. So this one's turning wind into the north and the northeast, and eventually into the east. That could bring some snow showers to eastern parts of the country. By trying to get through to the end of ensemble member number 13, we're trying to re-establish a westerly wind over the top of that ridge. Ensemble member number 14, again, has a high pressure just to our southwest next weekend. Then low pressure swings in across the country by Sunday, having a go at turning the wind into the north. And then we carry on running through with this one. We've got high pressure building over Scandinavia. It does turn the wind into the east there around the 2nd of February. We're bringing in a cold easterly wind before that high pressure starts to collapse and the heights begin to set up more towards the south of us. So we finish up with ensemble member number 14 pulling up a very mild, very mild southerly to southwesterly wind. That's a little bit of a taste of spring there on the 5th of February with ensemble member number 14. No doubt it's a mild outlier at the end. Ensemble member number 15 has this northerly snap coming in across the country next weekend, hopefully. So if the page will load again, I think it's starting to run quite slowly. Not sure why that is. Maybe there's a lot of traffic on West Central looking for the chance of colder weather. We're up to Monday the 28th of January, just over a week's time. Got a big area of low pressure to our south, and we're pulling in these easterly winds, and that looks pretty snowy actually as we get towards Monday the 28th and Tuesday the 29th of January. Heading into the start of February, low pressure starts to push back in off the Atlantic, and it all looks rather unsettled. Again, these areas of low pressure on an increasingly southerly track. Ensemble member number 16 has high pressure so close on Thursday to still bringing in those easy winds. You've got high pressure just out to our west, has got building pressure over Scandinavia. It's just this area of low pressure to the south of Greenland and near Iceland that is the spoiler. That's rolling in over top and just stopping the link up of these two ridges. But it is really, really close to it. And you see why a few days ago the models were convinced we were going to have this big easterly outbreak at the end of the coming week. Now we're into Sunday the 27th next weekend, and we're turning the wind into the north there, and then we're getting some heights rising over Scandinavia, blocking this area of low pressure that's been forced south to Biscay. So winds are turning into the east at day 10, and they look pretty cold easterlies as well. Then we're taking that high pressure up towards Greenland. We haven't seen a genuine Greenland high within these ensembles yet, but this one is a genuine proper Greenland high as we get through to the start of February. So this is our coldest ensemble member so far. Number 16 is very cold and very snowy for the early part of February. That is really cold, and there's a lot of snow in with that one as well by the end of January. The start of February, no doubt that's a cold outlier. This is ensemble member number 17 with again the high pressure just out to our southwest at the end of the week, not able to get itself up to Scandinavia. There's that northerly snap again next weekend. Will bring down some northerly winds, probably temporarily next weekend. Then this low pressure is diving into the North Sea as we're running up towards day 10. Again, quite cold with the winds in from the north for a time, before the winds back into the west, and this one is a more Atlantic-driven one, actually becoming quite stormy with ensemble member number 17 through the first week of February. That turns wet, windy and stormy. Ensemble member number 18 has high pressure to our southwest at the end of the week, and as we go through into next weekend, there's that northerly snap coming through again from those diving areas of low pressure moving to our south along with the jet stream. In the more extended range, we're building a ridge up over Scandinavia, so having a go at turning the winds into the east. Atlantic's still quite active though, so any easy attempt doesn't come off really, although it has got the high pressure at 1,055 millibars near western Russia. So that's a big ridge, big Siberian high, but the Atlantic, on this ensemble member anyway, is still in charge and still looking quite stormy out in the Atlantic at the end of that ensemble member. Number 19 has a high pressure pulling out into the Atlantic next weekend. Wind turns into the north. We bring down a little bit of a northerly next weekend before we get these areas of low pressure diving through the country. And this one very quickly, this kind of like the scenario we was facing for the end of the coming week actually. The low pressure's diving southwards. We've got a ridge building to the north and to the east, and this one is turning the wind into the east just a little bit beyond day 10. Then we're moving up towards the end of this ensemble member, and the Atlantic never truly goes away, but we keep high pressure generally quite close to northern parts of the country, so that's a pretty cold one, and at times would be quite wintry. Then finally, we've got ensemble member number 20, or finally for the ensembles, ensemble member number 20. Again, look how close it is on Thursday to this link up between the high pressure to our west and the ridge over Scandinavia. If it just wasn't that low pressure around Iceland, we would have done it. We would have built this ridge up and that would have allowed us to go into that freezing cold east wind. As it is, that low pressure is a spoiler, so it pushes through the country next weekend, gives us, or tries to give us a little bit of a northerly snap. Not much of a northerly actually with this particular ensemble member, but we run up towards day 10 and the low pressure's diving southwards through the UK into France, Spain and Portugal. That does allow the wind to turn into the east by around a little bit after day 10, with pulling in cold easterly winds for a little while anyway before more low pressure moves in from off the Atlantic. I have to say, from a high latitude blocking point of view, from a northern blocking point of view, either around Greenland, around the Arctic or around Scandinavia, aren't that many of these ensemble members that are doing that. They are building up ridges somewhere around the North Atlantic, possibly somewhere around Iceland, Scandinavia temporarily on some of them, but I'm still not really seeing great signs of genuine northern blocking, particularly focused around Greenland. We just had that one ensemble member that produced that real Greenland high. I think it was ensemble member number 14 or number 15. But other than that, we haven't seen a huge amount of evidence of high latitude blocking, which is what we're looking for after this sudden stratospheric one. So it's a little bit inconclusive. Just further northerly snaps, cold and unsettled, essentially, that we've got at the moment, and we'll have for the next few days. It looks like that's the way we're trending here, but there has been a definite back-off, I think, from the idea of true northern blocking. Finally, we've just got the parallel GFS run, and of course this will become the operational GFS I'm not sure when it's going to be. It's normally around May or June, I think, that they switch over. So this again is how things are looking on Thursday. Let's run through, see what it does. So we're going into next weekend. And again, not as much of a northerly actually with the parallel GFS run, but we do get this low pressure diving into the country around Monday the 28th of January, and that is turning the wind into the north. But again, not supported by real blocking. Another low pressure is diving in from off the Atlantic there on the 1st of February. So this is genuine sort of cold zonal type weather. But not supported by true Arctic or northern or high latitude blocking. So that's how I finish up with parallel GFS run, still keeping wind from the west. There are a few snow opportunities there within the parallel GFS, but only brief sort of snow episodes. Nothing genuinely locked in the cold conditions. The last thing we can look at is the ensemble grass. So we'll just go to there. We'll be looking at Eutoxeter because that's the last place we looked at for today's second video update. And that's how things are looking at Eutoxeter. So still looking at colder than average conditions. The red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average. You'll notice this pickup in the temperature though around like the 25th of January, 25th, 26th. We go a little bit milder than average for a couple of days. That's when we should have been pulling in the bitterly cold easterly. So what a turnaround that is. But it doesn't last more than a couple of days, and then we're back into colder than average temperatures as we go into the rest of the ensemble, which takes us through the remainder of January into the start of February. Most of the ensemble members are below the red line to start, and from around the 27th of January onwards into the 1st of February. There's a few, but are still going down to -10 at 850 HPA, but none that are going into the freezer, none that are dipping below -10 at 850 HPA. So, inconclusive, I think what we're looking at is basically cold and unsettled conditions. There will be snow opportunities at times. Push up in the temperature at the end of this week, though, which is a shock because a couple of days ago we was odds on for freezing cold easterlies at that point. So that's a real turnaround, and shows how unreliable things are at the moment with the model output, particularly if you're talking about easterly winds. Any push up in the temperature at the end of this week only lasts a couple of days, when it looks like we go back into that northerly next weekend. That's quite well supported, that northerly, within the GFS ensemble. So I think we probably do get a northerly snap in around a week's time. And then it looks like on the evidence, we go to the end of January, possibly even into the start of February, still cold and unsettled, but still struggling to lock into a genuine freezing cold spell of weather, which, of course, is what we've been looking for after that sudden stratospheric warming. Right, so that's it for today's videos. Thanks so much for tuning in on your Sunday evening. Again, sorry for the live event having to be cancelled. Just one of those things, we couldn't get our schedules together in the end, but we will try and bring you a live chat at some point in the next few weeks. Right, so that's all for now, and thanks for watching.